The legendary banner for August 2020 is here to mop up what's left of everyone's orb stashes. As always, these monthly banners feature a starting 8% 5-star focus rate, with the non-focus rate being set to 0% permanently. That means if you do get a 5-star hero, it's guaranteed to be one of these 12 heroes, but getting one specific unit is going to be a bit tough. The new hero for this month is legendary Female Corrin. She is back again as a colorless infantry dragon, and she will be a wind elemental hero with the parrot mechanic. As is standard for most of the Fire Emblem lords, Corrin is dressed up in her promoted class outfit from Fates. Considering how much of a menace the last colorless Female Corrin was, legendary Corrin is looking to match that and maybe then some. For old skills, Corrin is rocking distant counter to fight ranged foes, and she is bringing shield pulse back from the dead. There are only 2 heroes with this skill, and the last time we saw it was from Fjorm way back then. As a refresher, Shield Pulse needs to be used with a defensive special. On turn 1, it will give -2 cooldown to that defensive special, and every time those specials are triggered, you get an extra -5 damage taken off on top. Defensive specials are super uncommon, and I would say have been kinda left in the dust thanks to the close call family of skills. Perhaps legendary Corrin can turn things around. Now for her last skill, Corrin will have Joint Drive Attack, +4 attack to all allies within 2 spaces, and the user also gets the same boost if they are near allies themselves. Pretty universally good skill, it works great on any unit. For a unique special, Corrin is going to have Primordial Breath. This 60 Dragonstone accelerates special trigger and has the standard adaptive damage against ranged foes. For its main effect, if foe initiates combat or if the foe has 100% HP, Corrin gets a whopping +5 to all stats, and she also gets special cooldown charge +1 per her own attacks. That is the heavy blade type special cooldown reduction, which is still pretty dang good. Overall, very solid weapon, faster specials, extra special cooldown, and +5 to all stats. Based on Fallen Female Corrin, legendary Corrin is probably going to be another fast dragon. This one also comes with distant counter by default, and instead of these solo conditions, this Corrin procs her weapon all the time in the enemy phase and can proc it on the player phase if she fights a full health target. To see the full power of Primordial Breath, we need to take a look at Corrin's unique special. With Shield Pulse in her kit, legendary Corrin introduces a new and probably unique defensive special. Negating Fang reduces damage from foes' attacks by 30%, and after triggering, Corrin's next attack gets a boost in damage equal to 30% of her attack stat. Some important things to note: Negating Fang is a 3 cooldown special, but with Primordial Breath, it's essentially a 2 cooldown special, which means Shield Pulse is going to fully charge it on turn 1. Also, while this works similarly to Fjorm's Ice Mirror, this defensive special works against both melee and ranged attacks. That is one of the main weaknesses of those specials, since they only protect against one or the other. In terms of the boosted counterattack damage, instead of using the amount of damage that was reduced, Corrin just fires back with essentially Draconic Aura. All in all, legendary Corrin really is like a second coming of Fjorm, but obviously better. With the cooldown reduction from Primordial Breath on her own attacks, she can recharge Negating Fang after it activates. Fjorm can only do this if she uses Steady Breath, Heavy Blade, or a skill like Bravely Seen as refined. The fact that Negating Fang works on melee or ranged attacks is just really good, and remember with Shield Pulse, you subtract another -5 damage after the damage reduction calculation. Overall, legendary Corrin is going to be tough to bring down. This year, damage reduction has been a big theme, and I suspect the main reason Corrin got a unique special instead of just a close call type skill is the fact that dragons can't run them. I mean, they could have just thrown it on her weapon or gave her a beast skill that had a close call anyway, but this is an interesting adaptation. With Shield Pulse's flat -5 damage on top of the 30% damage reduction, I believe Corrin will take less damage than if she hit the full 40% up to a certain damage threshold. She also doesn't have to win any speed battles by 10 or more points, which means she will always get that 30% and the extra -5 damage versus even super fast enemies. Now some downsides is that Corrin gets locked into a non-healing special. She can't run Aether like a regular close call user can, which may be an issue if you want to use it for longer battles in PvE maps. You could just run Aether instead of Negating Fang, since Corrin has a ton of cooldown reduction, but you could also just find a healer for her. One interesting scenario is, what if you don't use Shield Pulse? Technically, Corrin can initiate first, and she's going to charge up Negating Fang anyway, assuming Primordial Breath activates. From there, she can keep the loop going unless she runs into a guard ability. If you don't take Shield Pulse, Corrin can run some other annoying skills. You got the classics in Vantage or Desperation. Vantage could actually allow her to recharge Negating Fang if you do run into guard. Corrin could also run No Follow-Up or No C Disrupt. I don't imagine you would see these very often, but if this Corrin is just a huge ball of stats, then being able to always counter from range while taking reduced damage would be pretty annoying. Regardless of what Legendary Corrin ends up running, I'm sure it's going to be another really strong, annoying Colorless Dragon to deal with. While I don't know if she's going to be able to survive one-shots from dragon slaying weapons, if she does live, then she is counterattacking with a draconic aura, so you better finish the job quickly. All in all, I do like that they are trying to utilize defensive specials and shield pulse. I kinda wish both of those would be more accessible to other units though, especially since Close Call and company have just turned super fast units into monsters. Let's now move on to the 11 other heroes on this banner. In the red group we have Legendary Eirika, Hrid, and Fallen Ike. Blue has Naga, Legendary Julia, and Nils. Green is going to have Gunnthra, Legendary Hector, and Rinkah. Last, our colorless group has Legendary Corrin, Mila, and Bramimond. Very stacked group right there. Starting with Legendary Eirika, she is a very fast sword cavalier. Her Storm Signaling requires her to be near more enemies than allies, but it grants extra special cooldown, which cavaliers have a tough time acquiring. This pairs with her Lunar Brace B skill, which does inflict +1 to all specials, but when Eirika procs a special, it adds extra 2 damage equal to 50% of the foe's defense stat. You can pair this with Mimbo to get a makeshift Black Luna, or you can pair it with Luna for nearly 100% defense reduction. It requires a lot of setting up, but Legendary Eirika can be a fun unit to mess around with. For skills, she does have attack and speed solo, which is pretty solid. Probably going to take that over Odd Defense Wave. Next we have Legendary Hrid, who is another sword cavalier. He is very slow, but decently tanky and has a very neat playstyle. With his sword, Hrid can prevent a follow-up attack and get his own follow-up attack anytime he fights a foe with a penalty on them. His Freezing Seal B skill is like a chill skill, so Hrid can set himself up on at least one target. He also has attack smoke to spread more debuffs. All of this pairs extremely well with distant counter, and Hrid has pretty good base attack, so he can pose a threat on both phases. Obviously with distant counter he is always prime fodder. Last is Fallen Ike, and boy is he one scary swordsman, extremely fast and has repel to reduce damage against slower foes. Ike even comes with Darting Breath for extra special cooldown, and he has Attack and Speed Oath for more speed buffs. With his Chaos Ragna, which has distant counter, and Mayhem Aether, which is just a 4 cooldown Aether, Fallen Ike is a menace to face. He also welcomes debuffs since Chaos Ragna just grants double the amount of stats as the debuff inflicts, so have fun taking him down. All 3 of Ike's passives are extremely good skills, and overall the red group does bring decent fodder skills on every unit available. Eirika and Hrid are pretty decent cavaliers, but Fallen Ike is a true monster. Moving on to the blue group, we have Mythic Naga. She is a blue flying dragon and an Astro Mythic hero. Naga can pass along dragon effectiveness to adjacent allies with her Divine Fang C skill, and this plays into her Divine Breath weapon, which grants bonus stats based on the number of nearby allies with dragon effectiveness. Unfortunately, Naga gets a lot of flack because she has to go against Thrasir in her 8th raid season, and Thrasir is a green dragon killer. She does grant bonus defense though, and maybe that's what you need. For her inheritable skills, ARO, attack and speed is not that great because it's an offensive 8th raid's only skill that requires you to destroy enemy structures, and you can't depend on doing that every single map. Chill speed is fine if you want to slow down super fast enemies. Next we have Legendary Julia, and she is a blue infantry mage with really high attack and res. Nearly everything in her kit just increases her damage output, so she can one-shot low res targets. Virtuous Naga grants extra attack and res if Julia has more attack than the enemy, and it is also effective against dragons. Her Light and Dark Beast skill is like a super low skill that targets all stats, and it also disables adaptive damage, so she can have a better chance at surviving dragon attacks. For fodder skills, Julia has Mirror Impact, which is a great skill for surviving with its +10 res and fallout prevention. Attack and Res Oath will grant +5 attack and res to the user if they start the turn next to an ally. Last we have Nils, who is a blue dragon dancer. His play assist skill is just a normal dance ability, but with Frost Breath, when Nils dances an ally, he inflicts -4 to all stats on the closest foe within 4 spaces. Nils brings more support abilities with Infantry Pulse since he does have high base HP, and he also has Even Pulse Time. This skill inflicts +2 cooldown on the foe with the lowest HP if they have their special ready, and it works every even number turn. Funnily enough, this counters Legendary Corrin's Shield Pulse plus Negating Fang setup. In fact, all of these blue units try to counter her since Naga and Julia are dragon killers. If you want Infantry Pulse fodder, I would recommend trying to get Geese from the Pirate banner. He is the 4-star focus unit there, and that banner will continue to last for a while. For the green group, we have Gunnthra. She is a green mage cavalier, and her Blizzard Tome has the reverse play to mobility, which has been spread to many other weapons now. She can be a fun long-range nuker if your setup is good. Like Hrid, Gunnthra needs debuffs to thrive, and her Chilling Seal is also another type of chill skill. Previously, Gunthra's inheritable skills were both tough to come by, and Fortress Rise isn't that amazing now. You can actually get Fortress Rise and Res Puloi, both of them from Forest now, so if you want those skills, perhaps you have a spare one lying around. Next we have Legendary Hector, who is an Axe Armor unit. His Thunder Armors prevents a follow-up attack if he is near more allies than enemies, and with distant counter plus Vengeful Fighter, Hector's counterattacks can be pretty scary. His Osseous Pulse C skill is pretty unique and works like Infantry Pulse but for all unit types as long as you don't have more than 2 of the same movement type on your team. Hector can create some interesting team comps, but if you want a similar Axe army unit, Morty from the Tokyo Mirage Sessions group kinda just outdoes Thunder Aramites with her own weapon. Regardless, with Distant Counter and Vengeful Fighter, Hector is still great for skill inheritance. Last green unit is Rinkah, who is a very high defense Axe infantry unit. She is also pretty fast as well, and her personal club grants cooldown reduction when she gets hit. It also accelerates specials and grants extra attack and defense, which is going to work great with Distant Foil since that gives even more attack and defense. Distant Foil lets you counter bow and dagger units, so for units with lots of defense but low res, it's not a bad option instead of going for Distant Counter. You can inherit Distant Foil with Wrath 3 for extra damage on specials and more cooldown reduction when on low HP. Last we got the Colorless Badge, and with Legendary Corrin she has some pretty good skills to inherit. Distant Counter is obviously great to have, and you can either take it with Shield Pulse or Joint Drive Attack. Shield Pulse is still going to be pretty niche unless we somehow get new inheritable defensive specials. It's kind of sad that we have the same number of Joint Drive Attack wielders as Shield Pulse wielders. Our second colorless unit is Mythic Mila, who is a colorless infantry dragon as well. Mila is a light mythic hero that grants bonus defense, and she is built with a more supportive row in mind. Her Negating Breath grants +2 to all stats for allies within a huge area near Mila, and Mila's turn row can inflict isolation on foes within the same current direction of her if she wins a defense check. Isolation can be amazing if you can target the enemy dancers, and Mila should be mainly supporting from the back lines. Mila is super slow but has incredible base defense and res. She even has Sabotage Attack to debuff the enemy team, plus she has Rally Defense and Res Plus for that double +6 stat boost. Her Bracing Stance 3 skill is the ultimate enemy phase tank skill with +6 defense and res, plus the guard ability. Definitely one of the best tier 3 dual stances for pure tanks that just don't want to die. Last we have Mythic Bramimond, who is a dark mythic hero that boosts attack. He is a colorless mage with tons of damage, and his Void Tome is pretty dangerous. Bramimond can get +5 attack, defense, and res against foes with more than 50 attack, or those with penalties on them. Additionally, against foes with more than 35 speed or penalties on them, he also gets a follow-up attack. With 40 base attack, attack and defense push 4, and low attack and res, Bramimond can output some serious damage, and since he is colorless, only a Raven Tome can gain an advantageous matchup. Additionally, his Impenetrable Dark C skill disables all enemy skills during combat except for the foe Bramimond is fighting. Basically, the unit that fights Bramimond can't use support skills from allies, so you actually have to 1v1 him. Personally, I find Bramimond to be a pretty annoying foe in Aether raids, especially if he has 30 impact. His attack boost via blessings is also pretty nice if you're going for a high damage defense team. Should be pretty obvious, but the colors group is absolutely stacked in terms of skill fodder. Pretty much everything here is very good or very rare, so even if you don't use someone, they'll be useful anyway. If you want Legendary Corrin, now is definitely not a bad time to try and get her. That's going to be it for this legendary banner. Do you still have orbs left, or did you already spend it all on the Pirates and CYL4? Personally, I throw everything on Choose Your Legends, so I'm back to saving up whatever I can get. As a reminder, while this legendary banner is up, the Pirates banner, CYL4 banner, and the Double Special Heroes banner will all be active still. The next new banner is also a seasonal banner, so there's a lot to consider if you want to summon more. If you are going to summon, I wish you good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video.